Going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talking 215.
What is up, everybody? And welcome back to another edition of the Talking 215 podcast.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Whatever time of the day you are listening, welcome to this week's edition of Talking 215.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a special live edition of the Talking 215 podcast. As you can see, I am rocking solo tonight. Both gentlemen, I know Coach Joey is over at a Morgan Wallen concert. Good for him. And then our own Sean is doing a phenomenal job slinging cars over at the dealership. So he is up to his ankles in paperwork. He's going to be a little bit late there. So rocking solo tonight. As you can see the ticker on, we have the phone line open tonight. The White Glove hotline is open. So if you have any thoughts about anything we're talking about, we're going to be talking a lot of Phillies and Sixers tonight. We're going to be talking Harper's return, Schwarber being leadoff, the slumping of Trey Turner, and overall the Phillies and their pitchers in general. And then obviously we're going to be talking a little bit of 76ers against the Boston Celtics. Appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. And then obviously for anybody tuning in, we have the Phillies ticket giveaway that we are doing the drawing for tomorrow. If you are tuning in, feel free to share this post, this live stream, and comment wherever you're listening your name, and that will get you an additional entry into the Phillies tickets for this Sunday, May 5th against the Red Sox. It's going to be a great matchup. You don't get the Red Sox in town all that often. It's going to be Harper's return to Citizens Bank Park. Not the first game, but of the returning series. Hopefully we can all give him a very warm welcome. I'm pretty bummed I'm not going to be able to make it this Sunday, but have some family stuff going on. And family always comes first, especially at the Talking 215 podcast. So let's dive right into it. Harper, do not drug test that man. 160 days removed from a Tommy John surgery, and he is back on the field. And after one game of lackluster play, he goes out and he goes 3 for 3 with 2 walks. So all 5 plate appearances, he reaches base, 2 singles and a double. Slide looked great for a guy that needs to slide left cheek. Can't go that face first slide as he always prefers. Slide looked pretty natural. Obviously, he's been working on that a fair amount. So you love to see him go out there, get Wood back on ball and just be swinging against righties, lefties, anybody he faced in that game too. He was seeing the ball wonderfully. He was working counts. He got the ball into the grass and was just hustling out there. I mean, Harper just brings so much life and energy back in this lineup that you really need. And then you got a guy like Kyle Schwarber leading off. Rob Thompson, after we acquired Trey Turner, was asked so many times, "Oh, is Trey Turner your leadoff guy? Is Trey Turner your leadoff guy?" And it was always like, "Oh yeah," like he wasn't even kind of hiding the fact it was Trey Turner's the leadoff guy. And then Bryson Stott came along and earned that role. He came out there and he more than earned the leadoff spot. He works great at bats. He started out with a 23-game hitting streak to start the season, beating old Puddinhead Jones's record. So you love to see it. And now, like, I get it. It's nice having some more good at-bats in the middle of the lineup, but Kyle Schwarber can't be your leadoff hitter. Like, I get since April 9th, I believe he has like a 400 on-base percentage. He's worked a number of walks, but that was those numbers were from about a week ago. This past week, much like a lot of the Phillies batters, he's just been ice cold, striking out or a can of corn every time. And you see the occasional Schwarbomb, but you know what makes a Schwarbomb really nice? Runners on base. Kyle Schwarber is just, much like all the Phillies, is a solo home run machine. And trust me, I'll take any home run over no home run. But when you have the leadoff batter that's batting 191 right now, and this past week, at least, now that he is the leadoff batter again, hasn't been working any walks, hasn't been working any good counts. It just sets you up for failure. I mean, how many times have we said on this podcast how crucial it is, how that first at bat can really rattle a pitcher right at the beginning? If you got guys like Turner, Harper, Bohm, Stott, all right behind him, Castellanos having an incredible year. They know they're coming right up behind him. And let's say you got Stott up there working a 9-pitch walk, doesn't even get a hit, but he's already 9 pitches in, no outs, and now he's got Trey Turner up. I get it, Trey Turner slumping, but it's still, you're automatically getting into that pitcher's head, and you got this guy rattled before the game's even started. but you got zero situational hitting. You saw Garrett Stubbs with a textbook suicide squeeze. That's about the only situational baseball you've seen pretty much this season. It's so rare for them to get hits with runners on base, especially if they're in scoring position. I mean, how many times do we joke when Castellanos gets a double with one out? Is he even going to get to third base? And more times than not, he's not even getting past halfway. And that's with his insane lead. It's really remarkable how little situational hitting we are able to achieve. And I want to say this is kind of a hot take because I've been seeing so many people saying how amazing Kevin Long is. I saw our friend Bearded Knowledge over at Philadelphia Sports Network does a phenomenal job over there. Definitely check him out with his morning show. One of the best YouTube morning shows, 8:30 to 9:30, Monday to Friday. But he was like, Kevin Long is the equivalence of Jonathan Stoutland as one of the best position coaches in their sport. And I get it. You got Brandon Marsh, Edmundo Sosa, guys that were brought over here for incredible defense and no real pop in the bat. And they both have really turned it around. I mean, we've Talking 2-5 has been big Marsh guys since he came around. Love his beard, love his hair, love his attitude. Guy goes out there and does it. And then Edmundo Sosa, I said he was going to be the most improved Philly this season. I continue to be right on almost anything that I talk about, especially with sports. And he's been doing a phenomenal job. But then why is Schwarber batting 191? A guy that really should be benefiting from the new shift rules seems to only be swinging for the fences. And early in the game, that can be fine when it's a tie 0-0 or a very low scoring deficit or lead. I get it. You can just swing for the fences. But late game, when you're really just trying to get guys on base, hand the baton off to the next guy and keep the train rolling, the guy's still just zero awareness, so aggressive at the plate. And is he not a batter? Would he not be somebody that could learn something from Kevin Long? Like, I get it. He's turning around Marsh. He's turning around Sosa. He's turning them into really good hitters. Even Pache. It's crazy for us to say with how much crap we've talked about this guy. He was batting over 300 before he had the torn meniscus. I'd be curious to see some reports on him coming back because especially with Harper now being your full-time DH until he can slide into first base, which we don't even know if it's going to be a good idea or not. You're going to have Schwarber and Castellanos both playing their positions in the field because Harper is going to be holding that DH spot. So it's going to kind of hurt. I mean, we saw the other game, that one run, ultimately, it didn't mean a whole lot because Max Muncy blasted a grand slam walk-off in the bottom of the ninth. But Kyle Schwarber had one of the worst plays I've seen him make in a Phillies uniform where he just had the ball. He charged it, didn't play it right. It bounced off his big beer belly, went behind him, and it allowed a runner to go from first to home on a play that he should have at best gotten to third. And you're going to see a lot more of that with Kyle Schwarber needing to remain in left field with Harper being the DH. You're not going to be able to put Kyle Schwarber in at DH and throw in a guy. I know Jake Cave was sent down, so you got to get like a Dalton Guthrie out there. Pache's injured, so it would probably be Guthrie holding that defensive spot in the meantime. But you can't get that with Harper up there. But obviously, Harper being in the lineup is most important, regardless of who has to play defense. Harper being back in the lineup is just a phenomenal thing. If you have any thoughts about Schwarber being leadoff, about the Phillies in general, about Harper being a robot, being a cyborg, who knows what this guy is, but it's incredible for him to be back out on the field in only 160 days. Breaks the MLB record. I believe, I don't have the number in front of me or the name in front of me, but I believe the previous record holder was like 182, 189 days, something like that. And Harper blows that out of the water. 160 days removed from that injury. I know we had Doc Mesa from the great folks over at Delaware Orthopedic Specialists. He said this would be about the earliest that he would ever recommend anybody getting back out there. And obviously Harper, being a professional athlete, is in phenomenal tip-top shape. And so he was able to get out there and just, let's knock on wood for no kind of injuries to come up from this, no re-injury risk or anything like that. And hopefully he can continue playing at this incredible pace. So yeah, day off today, going to be facing off against the Red Sox on a 3-game series starting tomorrow. If you are going to that game, I don't know what time you should leave, but it should be early because not only do you have the Phillies and the Red Sox, You also have the Sixers and the Celtics within spitting distance of each other. It is going to be absolutely pandemonium down at the Philly Sports Complex tomorrow night. You have to imagine with baseball's pace of play, they're a 7:10 start. The Celtics and Sixers are a 7:30 start. So even with that, let's say it's a 3-hour baseball game, which is about the average. That would put the Sixers game ending in 2.5 hours, which is pretty much basketball norm, maybe 3 hours with it being the postseason. Games are going to be starting and ending at nearly the same time. I don't even know what to recommend for you guys. I've never done SEPTA. I've heard conflicting reports. Some people love it. Some people absolutely hate it. If you have any thoughts on SEPTA, you see the number down there, 302-540-4492. Call ahead and get your thoughts in on the Phillies, Sixers. We can talk Eagles draft, whatever you have in mind. Definitely just go ahead and call in. And look, you call in, boom, we'll throw you an extra 2 entries into the Phillies tickets. We've got everything being recorded. We have everybody that's retweeted, that shared it on Instagram. If you can do both and you get entries for both that you do it in, it's not like you're locked in for just one. You leave us a 5-star review. There's an extra entry. You leave a comment on this live stream, there's an extra entry. And I'll tell you what, if you call in and you talk a little sports with me, there's an extra 2 entries. I know people are dying to get to this game. I love doing these ticket giveaways. One of the main reasons I got the Sunday ticket package, knowing that with my schedule being a fluid schedule, being a paramedic, and I'm gonna have to inevitably work a number of these games, was that I'll be able to give away the tickets. I love seeing the stories and hearing the stories of people that are able to go to these games with our tickets and everything. And I hope everybody has a wonderful time at these events. But yep, 302-540-4492. Go ahead and call in and we can talk a little bit of sports as I crack into a cold one here. Nothing beats a Yingling on a Thursday night. Tell you what, you can talk a little Cinco de Mayo plans. I know I'm going over to El Tapatio, or El Tapatio, as some people call it, over there on Philly Pike. Love a good Cinco de Mayo story. Love a good Cinco de Mayo celebration. So like I was saying, Phillies, Sixers going to be playing in the same sports complex, just mere minutes apart. So it'll be interesting to see. So that kind of leads us right into the Sixers talk. We know that Game 2 was a big letdown. They ended up losing by 34. The starters didn't play a minute of the fourth quarter. You had a lot of George Niang minutes. A lot of people wondering why George Niang is getting minutes, especially in this postseason. Very, very interesting to say the least. And it was Joel Embiid's return to the game, return from injury. My initial thoughts on it. Joel Embiid is a dominant force in the paint. You went and saw a completely different playing style from the Celtics, where they were dominating in points in the paint. They had like 5 times the amount of points in the paint as the Sixers did in Game 1, and the Sixers were shooting the lights out of the arena. James Harden obviously goes off for 45. I know early in the game, DeAnthony Melton had 17 points, I believe, in the middle of the second quarter. He ended up finishing with 17. I don't know why we didn't keep the guy rolling, but it inevitably didn't matter as we went on to win the game. And then completely different tale in Game 2, where you had, if you told me going into that game that Jason Tatum would only have 7 points and that Joel Embiid would return and have 5 blocks in the first half, I would tell you they're going to win that game. You got everybody out there. You got Maxey, Tobias. Postseason Tobias is earning his contract right now. You got Harden out there coming off of tying his career high in the postseason, and you hold Jason Tatum to 7 points and Joel Embiid has 5 blocks in the first half. That to me screams win, not a 34-point loss, which is inevitably what we ended up seeing. You saw the Celtics shooting at a remarkably high clip. It seemed like no matter what they shot, and really watching the game, the Sixers didn't play that terrible of perimeter defense. But the Celtics still took 51 threes, making 20 of them at a 39% 3-point shooting percentage, which team wide is a pretty great percentage, especially if you're taking 51 of them. You're making 20. There's 60 points right there. Sixers ended up only scoring 87 points on the game, only making 6 threes on 30 attempts for a 20% 3-point shooting percentage. Not good. James Harden, I know, was 0 for 6 from 3. Tyrese Maxey had an off game as well. Overall, the only player that really had a decent game would probably be Tobias Harris, shooting at a little over of a 50% clip, and he led the scoring for the Sixers with 16. If your leading scorer has 16 points, you're not winning that game. And that's what you saw. You saw Joel Embiid doing fine out there. He had 9 shots, 2 of them from 3, missed both of those. So he was 4-7 from inside the arc, 7-8 from the free throw line, from the charity stripe. 5 blocks, only 3 turnovers, only 2 fouls. Like he was doing what he had to do. You're not going to expect to see a whole lot more from him with this injury. We're going to have Doc on sometime in the coming week to talk about this and everything and really break it down. I believe he's going to be at the game on Friday, so I'll be interested to hear his traffic stories from that game with the Phillies going on. But do you get that sense that with him receiving the MVP award in the Wells Fargo Center in front of the home crowd, his return to postseason basketball after missing game 4? I mean, I know he's played every game at the Wells Fargo Center in the postseason, but it'll be his return into this series, the first time back at home after being announced as MVP. I heard John Marks on the Marks and Reese show today talking about how, it was Joe Giglio, talking about how he expected Joel Embiid to have a very strong first quarter coming back off of this injury and everything. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of reception he gets. I'd imagine it's going to be extremely warm, as he has been deserving of this MVP for at least the past 3 seasons, finally winning it with a lot of conjecture, a lot of conflicting reports on whether he deserved it or not. If you have to go into such a deep dive of analytics to try and defend why Jokic should have been the MVP, then there's your argument right there. Basketball is just something you watch. You have a sense for who is the best in the game. And Joel MVP in the regular season was hands down the best player in the NBA. He would, as a center, take over games, which you're just not seeing. And Nikola Jokic, while he is a very talented player, I don't hate the guy. I really dislike a lot of the people that so staunchly defend him, as they just seem so blind to other talent in the league. But Nikola Jokic, I don't necessarily hate the guy. He seems like a great basketball player. From all accounts, it seems like he's a decent teammate and all. But the guy's a complete liability on defense. He is a very selfish basketball player out on the court, and he just pads his stats constantly in either blowouts on either end, whether his team is getting blown out or whether they are blowing the opposing team out. And if you look at the true competitive stats in crunch time and clutch moments, Joel Embiid is so far and away the superior player. So much deserving there, in the voting showed it. I mean, he had 75 first place votes out of 100 voters. So it was very obvious who they expected and who they knew was the MVP of the season. So all the other arguments saying otherwise, just shut up. I mean, it really wasn't much of an argument there. Joel Embiid is the MVP of the NBA. Wouldn't be surprised to see him go back-to-back as Nikola Jokic did the previous 2 years, because he is just such a dominating force in the NBA and one of the only dominating centers in the game today. Might go down as the greatest center in Philadelphia history if he continues to go on this clip. I know, obviously, Wilt Chamberlain is a top 5 player in all of basketball history. Don't know, where Joel Embiid is going to fall in there. But if he ends up being the best center in Philadelphia history, obviously that would put him ahead of Wilt. So he could go down as one of the greatest centers in the game of basketball. He's currently, below Shaq, below a number of guys, but at the end of the day, at the end of his career, he may be right up there with them. And he's certainly going to go down as one of the greatest scoring centers in the game of basketball, as his points per 30 is absurd. I believe he's top 5 in basketball history of points per 30, which is just amazing for a center. A guy that, mind you, YouTubed white people shooting basketballs to learn how to shoot a 3, because coming from Cameroon and only playing basketball since in his teenage years when he started, he noticed them white boys can shoot the ball. And so he went on YouTube and typed white man shooting threes. And that is how he developed his 3-point stroke, which for a big man is well above average. So game 3, back in the Wells Fargo Center. I'd love to know your thoughts on how many games this series will go. You hear a lot of people saying Sixers and 6, Sixers and 7. And then you hear the flip side, Celtics and 6, Celtics and 7. I'll tell you what, Sixers really, really need to have a different game. Doc really needs to have a different game plan if they don't want it to be Celtics and 5. I mean, because they completely dominated game 2 in a fashion that you just don't want to see. When we come off of the Sixers squeaking out a very late clutch win with James Harden having the best postseason game of his career, I would argue, although he tied the most points in his postseason career, I would say that game was clearly the best game of his postseason career, as he very much so just won that game for the 76ers. You can't rely on that. You can argue that you can also not rely on the Boston Celtics shooting at such a high clip. I mean, everything they shot seemed to be going in, and everything the Sixers shot. I mean, when that James Harden shot went around and just it went around the hoop once, went around the hoop twice, bounced off the shot out, bounced off the backboard, hit the rim, and went out. It just, that seemed to be the summation of what we were going to see with the 76ers shooting threes in this game. It just was not going. Bill checking in, may have missed it. When does Embiid come back? Embiid came back. Embiid played in game 2. He is going to be playing in the remainder of the games in the postseason, barring no setback or no game. If we up 3-1, who knows? Maybe they'll rest him. I think that'd be silly. But if they are winning in dominating fashion and there's some kind of Celtics injury that you just know the Sixers are going to win, I believe that would be the only 2 scenarios in which Embiid will not play in the postseason for the remainder of their run, however long that may be. I'll tell you what, having a co-host on to talk when I'm drinking definitely limits the awkward pauses. So bear with me as I drink in between segments here. But I mean, Jaylen Brown Marcus Smart and who was it? Brogdon, and Brogdon really took over the game for the Celtics in the second half. Malcolm Brogdon and Marcus Smart. Brogdon 6 of 10 shooting from 3. Marcus Smart 7, or was it Marcus Smart? I don't know. It was Jaylen Brown. I thought there was somebody else that I thought went off from 3. I know Williams was 4 for 8. Malcolm Brogdon was 6 of 10. And then a number of guys, 3 of 6. Brown, White, 3 of 6. Marcus Smart was only 1 of 4, but he was 7 of 14 from the floor, had 15 points, with Brown leading all starters with 25 points. Bill, you are more than welcome to join in at any point. You can call in, or if you can comment if you'd prefer me to send you a link. But the number is right there if you just want to call in, and we can keep it real casual like that, or you're welcome to have a link, and I'm happy to send that your way, and you can hop on in video as well. I'd love for anybody to call in and tell me who you need to see step up in game 3. What do we need to see from the Sixers that would have you confident in them winning this round and facing either the Heat or the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals? Also, that brings up a bone I have to pick with the NBA. Why is it that they do not reseed each round of the playoffs? The Sixers should be playing the Knicks right now, and the Celtics should be playing the Heat right now. Almost every other sport reseeds after a round, and you play the top seed remaining plays the lowest seed remaining, and so on and so forth. But basketball, they seed for the first round, and then it sets up in bracket format. Maybe that's NCAA thing where they just love their brackets and basketball. Who knows? But I'd argue that that's silly, and that the top seed remaining should always face the lowest seed remaining, because that makes the regular season more competitive. And when you have a season where you have so many people just saying how nobody wants to play in the regular season, nobody competes, you got way too many people resting, you should definitely do something about that. We have a caller coming in here, Drew from Delaware. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Hey, it's Drew from Wilmington.
Oh, yeah. How we doing, Drew?
I'm doing good. Just wanted to touch base on the seating issue.
Yes.
I'm sorry about this. I'm turning the volume off on my TV so I don't hear myself twice.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
I'm back. Another way to look at it is so often in sports there is a lower seed team that becomes very hot at the end of the season. Our Fighting Phils are a good example of that. And if they come in and beat the number one seed, then there is a way to look at it that they are they're better than the number one seed. At least they were in that series.
Yeah.
So playing, if you are the highest ranked team, playing the team that just beat the number one seed, it may not be an advantage.
No, it's definitely not an advantage, but there's also times like you have so many people complaining in the NBA that the regular season is not competitive enough. And I understand your point saying that it may be more of an advantage for them not to play that hot team. But you see plenty of times, like just this past week in hockey, with the Boston Bruins being the record-holding team for the most wins in the regular season, 130-something points heading into the postseason. They lose in the first round to the Florida Panthers. I don't think anybody would really say the Panthers are a better hockey team. They just got hot at the right time, and that momentum may carry them all the way through the Stanley Cup Finals. I know there are a number of people's sleeper pick for the whole Stanley Cup.
I've heard good things about that sport. I wish Philadelphia would get a team.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they could talk to somebody about getting a team here in Philadelphia. It's been a number of years since we've seen any kind of hockey here. Would love to have it come back into the city, as Flyers have been very lackluster as of late, with the Bruins and the Rangers being the last two teams to actually fill the Wells Fargo Center with fans during Flyers games. So very embarrassing to say the least, but appreciate the thought. Who do you need to see step up in Game 3 and in this series remaining to give you confidence that this team can actually make it to the finals?
Well, I'd like to see, who knows? It seems like it's a different guy every day, but I'd really like to see Maxey.
Yeah.
I have seen him just go off in pressure situations, but in his young career, if he could steal a series, he'd really start building his legend.
No, especially with him coming up onto a contract year where he's likely going to be getting something close to a max. With the flashes he's shown, with him being only 22 years old, you'd like to see it pay off in the postseason. He's had a number of games in the postseason in his career where he stepped up, but overall it seems like guys like Tobias, who you argue doesn't live up to the contract in the regular season, are the guys that step up the most in the postseason of those non-star guys on our team. Where you'd really love to see a young Maxey take over a game, as you've seen him do it many times in the regular season, scoring multiple 30, 40-point games. Would love to see that in the postseason, be able to take a little bit of pressure off some of the older guys on the team in a Harden or in a Tobias. Appreciate the call. Appreciate the listen. Got yourself an extra entry into the Phillies ticket giveaway. So
yeah, my favorite show on the internet and radio.
There we go. I appreciate that. All righty. So, yep, that was Drew in Wilmington. Line's always open. You go ahead and call. Technically, it's my phone number, so I guess the line technically is always open. I'd appreciate you not call when we're not live, unless you just want to talk to me. Always welcome to. Bill, I sent you a link to the show. You are welcome to hop on whenever you are ready. Love talking sports with you anytime. Hop in whenever, as I just texted you. But yeah, Tyrese Maxey is an interesting player, to say the least. We've seen so many flashes of him playing at such an incredibly high level, and you'd really love to see him step up in the postseason and take over a game. What's going on, Bill? You need me to send you out for a minute? All right. Well, we'll get back to Bill here very soon, as he is dealing with a little bit of technical difficulties. But yeah, in the meantime, anybody, 302-540-4492, hop in the White Glove guest line. Go ahead and give us your take. If you're a little salty about anything, there's always the Sussex Salt text line. You can text the same number. Just get some of that saltiness right on out. 302-540-4492. We read the text line at the end of every show. So the Sussex Salt text line is open. The White Glove hotline is open. Same number. Text the one to have your text in. Call the one to have your call in. We are heading over to Bill in Florida. Bill, how are we?
I'm good, man. How you doing? It's been a while since I've been on with you. I apologize for that. I've had a lot going on.
I hear you. Now it seems like you are moving and grooving over there in Philadelphia. In Florida. F's, PH's, it's the same sound.
Yes, it is the same PH sound. Obviously, you know this, and anybody who's been following BSing Sports or even talking 215 and when we've been on, is I'm not super well informed on the Sixers. However, I do have a few opinions, obviously. I missed that Joel Embiid was back. I assumed he was not back based on the score, 121 to 87.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate, but let's say hypothetically he was just getting his legs back. Hypothetically, he had missed a handful of games, getting back up to speed. It's not
5 blocks in the first half. I mean, guy definitely
exactly
turned things around in the paint, where the Celtics own the paint in game 1.
Yeah, exactly. I do think there's room for improvement, or I'm sorry, there will be room where he improves rather. As the series goes forward, and I definitely think Doc will come back with a good game plan, and be prepared for the next step for the Sixers to take on the Celtics the rest of this series.
No, I really hope so. I mean, this is a series that I really don't have a whole lot of confidence in. I mean, love to see the game 1 win. Love to see James Harden get 45 points. As I'm the producer over for From the Nosebleeds, another great Philadelphia sports podcast, and one of their hosts, Vince, on their show said he was confident in the Sixers, but not a Harden guy. And he said if Harden scores 30 points in any game this series, he will shave his head. And I chimed in from behind the glass and was like, well, if he scores 40, will you shave everything but the mustache? And he agreed. So once he gets back from Florida, he's going to a wedding next week. On his show, he is going to be shaving his head and shaving his beard, as he is a man of his word. So that was great to see. But outside of that game, I haven't been very confident in this team. They've shown flashes. Obviously, you love to see him sweep the Nets, but the Nets stink. They have Michael Bridges. I don't know why I was blank on his name, and that's about it. But Bill, I know you are much more of a baseball guy if we were just talking baseball and basketball. So I know your time is limited tonight. So let's talk a little bit of Phillies. Bryce Harper is not human.
No, 62 days after he had.
Wasn't it 160 straight, or was it 161? It might have been more. I thought it was flat 160, but could have been more.
I think it's. So he had the surgery 2 days before Thanksgiving, so roughly 162 days, I think. Not guaranteed. Math could, is weird. I don't like math. However, you're 100% right. A guy to recover from Tommy John surgery, and yeah, he's running the bases with a brace on, but when he's in the batter's box, he looks like Bryce Harper. You're talking even in a game where they lost 10-6, 5-run blowing a 5-run lead is not idealistic, but
do not give Nola a 5-run lead. Don't. He'll always lose.
It's the weirdest thing. No, listen, I thought Nola had really turned a corner. He started out the season really slow. I know he came into the game with a 4.46, but his previous 3 starts, he looked really, really solid.
Yeah.
And for 4.5 innings, he gave up 3 runs. The bullpen is to blame for the remaining 5. We have to be honest, they are. But again, this is also a bullpen that went 22 in the 3rd innings and didn't allow a run. So, I mean, they're going to get tired if they're overused. It's the same situation we were dealing with last year. But for all you Philly fans out there, and I need to stress this with the utmost confidence in my team, is they were 22-29 last year and fired their manager before they went on a run and made the World Series. Please don't panic. I can't stress that enough. Please don't panic. And it's that simple. Listen, I know they have some things that are going wrong. Losing Rhys Hoskins is a big deal. You're talking 30 home runs, 85 RBIs. It looks like with the combination of Sosa and Harrison, they'll get somewhere around 18 to 20 home runs and 60-ish RBIs. And in my opinion, that's a pretty good makeup for a guy who's 30, 85. You know what I'm talking about? Now, the defense obviously takes a hit. Rhys wasn't great on defense, but Bohm over there has shown that he's not a first baseman, or at least he doesn't have enough reps at first base. I don't think it's a good idea to put Harper over there. But my message to Philly
get
fans
Harper out of DH somehow. You can't have Schwarber fielding left field every single game,
which we saw yesterday when Nola ended up giving up an RBI there, and I think it was the third inning where he just couldn't run that ball down.
The Phillies uniform.
Correct. Yeah. So I agree that you do need to find a way to get Harper out of the DH spot. The best place is to do it first base. You're likely not throwing the baseball that often from first base. That also does lead to another scenario where there's a guy on third, Harper fields a ball, tags first base. They might run home on him, which could end up being a problem in the future too, which is something that needs to be discussed. And it's something that needs to be like, hey, he can do this, or hey, he can't do this flat out. Like, just don't throw the ball, give up the run. But Bohm has shown that he's skittish at first base, and it reminds me a little bit of the Hatterberg quote from the movie Moneyball. What's the thing that you fear the most? Somebody hitting me the baseball. But
somebody hitting the ball in my general direction.
yeah. But no, seriously, that's what I fear. And Bohm reminds me of that over there at first base. But look, he looked like that a year and a half ago when he gave that whole "I hate this effing town" comment, and then he turned around and he answered for it, right?
Yeah.
So I think Bohm will get better, but I do think that he is a downgrade in defense from Rhys Hoskins at first base, which is what I think is one of the bigger things that's not being talked about for the Philadelphia Phillies right now.
Well, I want to touch on your comment on the whole "don't panic" stuff. Like, look, I love my Phils too. They're obviously capable of runs, as we saw just last year, but let's not act like they were a team that ended up running back and winning the NL East and going on a tear. I mean, they were a team that crawled into the postseason, where if it wasn't for the Marlins winning on the road against the Brewers, they're not even making the postseason. We had to rely on another team beating a team for us to make it into the postseason. Like, I get it. We beat Houston in Houston, and that was what locked it up for us. But if Miami didn't go on a remarkable run for us there at the very end, those games don't even matter. So they made it into the postseason by just one game, and it's not weighted. The wins later in the season don't count for more wins than the wins right now. So if they ended up going 21-28 before they fired, rather than 22-20, or 21-30 rather than 22-29, they missed the postseason. So I get it. Like, don't panic. In the words of Aaron Rodgers, RELAX, relax. I kind of understand that, but in the same breath, this team needs every single win that they can get. And when they lose in the fashion that they've been losing recently, either getting absolutely blown out, allowing 26 runs and only scoring 5 in the first 2 games of the series, and then having Jose Alvarado very uncharacteristically get just hit around in his brief outing there in game 3, and Nola having another blow-up inning, and then obviously Craig Kimbrell allowing just everybody to reach base and then everybody to round all the bases for them inevitably to lose. Those still count just as much as the ones at the very end of the year. Losses don't become less meaningful. Wins don't become more meaningful. You need every single win you can get. And when they're playing,
listen, I hear you, and I love your take on it. I really do. Here's why I, as an individual, am not panicking. A week prior to Philadelphia going into Houston and this past week and taking 2 out of 3 from the Houston Astros, the World Series champs, Houston Astros. The Astros were in Atlanta and swept the Braves. They were in Atlanta and swept the Braves.
Yeah,
That's the leader of the NL East, right? The reason I'm not panicking is because you can lose series like this and still be a good team. We went to LA, we got smacked around a bit. It's unfortunate. Let's see how they respond against the Red Sox, who are 19-14 walking into this series tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Keep in mind, we just got Harper back. He just went 3 for 3 with a walk and a pair of doubles, if I'm not mistaken.
1 double, 2 singles, and 2 walks.
There you go.
He reached base every single plate appearance of that game.
After going 0 for 4, I mean, it's,
Yeah, I mean,
But
he needed one game, and now he's back to form.
freak of nature, 100% agree. Freak of nature. But again, the reason I'm not panicking is simply because of those types of things, right? Like they beat good teams. Granted, they just got beat up by the Dodgers a little bit, but so far this season, prior to that Dodgers series, they had won 4 of the last 5 series,
Yeah.
4 straight, if I'm not mistaken. You're going to have bad series. It's going to happen. As long as you win more series than you lose, you're more than likely making the playoffs, and that's why I'm not panicking. They've shown through a majority of the season. I know that they're 15-17 right now. A 3-game sweep on the road wasn't ideal, but they've been relatively consistent and one of the best teams played up until this last series.
They're top 5 in team batting average, but they're also bottom 10 in team scoring. They're I believe 40 runs, -40 in run differential. I mean, this is a team that when they win small, and when they lose big. So while they won a number of series, I believe they won 4 or 5 series in a row before heading into LA. Like, that's great. And at the end of the day, if you win series, you're going to make the postseason. Like, if you win more series than you lose, you're most likely going to win or make the postseason, as it only really takes 85 plus wins to squeak into that last playoff spot. But I mean, this is a team that it's hard for me not to panic when your aces, Zach Wheeler, I've seen hit 98 one time like this season. I mean, his velocity is down. By the 3rd inning, he's lucky to hit 96. And look, I've said it since his first start this season. Zach Wheeler without his velocity is Noah Syndergaard with a haircut. I mean, that's what he is. Like, if he doesn't have his velocity, he's Syndergaard with a haircut. And Syndergaard is a fine player, but he's not an ace. And Aaron Nola without his command is I don't even know. Matt Moore, like, he's just a guy that's going to get absolutely shelled. When he is on, he can dot the corners because he's throwing at best 94 miles per hour on a great day. Maybe if he's facing his brother, he'll reach 94 miles per hour, as 6 of his 7 hardest thrown pitches were against Austin Nola. This is a guy that relies on command, fastball command to work, and has a wonderful knuckle curve to work off of that fastball, as well as a great changeup when he's really throwing it well. But when he's missing his spots, he's missing them by feet, not inches. And he is leaving stuff just dangling over the plate. And so it's hard for me not to panic when, he had 2 good starts, 1 great start, but he's had 5 or 6 just bad starts. And so you go with the total and not, I get it. It's such a what have you done for me lately league. And before this past start, he had done a lot of good things. But overall, you look at Nola, you look at Wheeler, and you're not super happy.
No, I will admit there is a small amount of concern in the pitching staff when Matt Strahm has been your most consistent pitcher.
Strahm is the man, and it's going to be hard seeing him go to the bullpen when you got guys like Taijuan Walker. I mean, I get what he puts the walk in Walker. I'll tell you what. I mean, man. You hear Walker, and you don't hear him say, Walker, I barely know her. No, he's more than welcome to walk anybody.
You know that storyline, right? Was they offered Chris Bassett the same contract. Bassett turned around and went to Toronto. And instead of like making an addendum and fixing the contract to go to Taijuan Walker, they just offered the same contract.
Yeah, they whited out the name and they put Taijuan Walker at the top.
That's exactly what happened. And I agree, he should not have been paid that much money. I think you and I talked about it via text message, or maybe we were on the phone once, and we said that was way too much money for Walker. And he's demonstrating exactly why that was too much money for Walker.
Yeah, it's a shame. You saw him in the World Baseball Classic. I get it. You're only going up against so much talent where not a lot of teams are. I mean, you saw some phenomenal stories of electricians, of PE teachers, like of guys out there that have no business playing against professional players. So I get it. He's not going against the best of the best, but he had a number of games against, I believe it was against Team Japan, where he had a really good game. Obviously, they're a pretty damn good team as they went on to win the whole thing. So you see signs of him doing really well. You just haven't seen it in Philadelphia. And how many times can he say, oh, I was just trying to get too cute? I mean, he's used that excuse, 5 times already?
Five out of his 8 or 9 starts, I believe. Yeah, you're right.
Dude, then stop trying to be cute. If that's true, then just throw the damn ball over the plate. Like, you're not hitting your spots and then you decide after you've walked the first 3 batters, okay, I'll stop trying to be cute, shelled for a grand slam. Like, dude, just start from the beginning, get shelled, get thrown out of the game after 3, and allow the bullpen to go in, and maybe we'll have some kind of miracle. But Taijuan Walker, it seems like, is just an automatic loss when he steps up to the dish because he hasn't shown any signs of consistency.
I would agree. We're looking at 500 with Nola, 500 with Wheeler to this point. 500 with Nola, 500 with Wheeler, 650 with Strom, and
thankfully our ace is almost back.
Significantly below, Rangers almost back, significantly below 500 with Falter and Walker, which leads me to my next question for you there, Jake. Falter shouldn't be the guy staying.
No, I mean, Falter, he won't. I mean, well, look, Pastrami's getting sent to, so he inevitably will be. But look, aside from Falter's last game, he is a number 5 starter on almost any team in the majors. Like, I see so many people like, oh, he is not a starting caliber. He is, though. Like,
no,
he really isn't that bad. He had
5 innings,
game.
4 runs is what you need to expect from Bailey Falter.
But he's consistently a 3 to 4 run in 6 innings guy, which for a number 5 starter, I'll take that most of the time. It's frustrating sometimes, a lot of times, but he'll get you 5+ innings and give up less than 4 runs more times than he won't.
I think my don't panic point of view comes specifically from, and I know I really shouldn't take these into account, but like because I've invited you to a few of them, all these Philadelphia Philly fan bases, where when something goes wrong, they're like, oh, Trey Turner wasn't worth the money. Oh, Bryce Harper went 0 for 4 in his first game back. He's not worth the money. We should get rid of him. Let's trade all these guys because they're crap. Ramuto hasn't thrown a guy out in a week and a half. We should get rid of him. Those are the people I'm talking to when I say don't panic.
Yeah, I mean, look, like, obviously I've been very vocal about my disappointment over the past 3 weeks with Trey Turner, but I'm still extremely confident in him. Like, I'm confident that this is not the player we're going to get for the remainder of the season. He's going to have these slumps. The thing that frustrates me is Rob Thompson and Trey Turner themselves. Rob Thompson consistently leaving him there at the 2 spot, and then Trey Turner himself and just not seeming to change his approach at the plate whatsoever. I mean, this is a guy that by any means necessary should be trying to get on base. I don't care how. I mean, you heard us joke how many times during the NFL season. Who gives a shit how the Eagles score a touchdown? All I care about is 6. I don't care if it's Jalen Hurts. I don't care. I don't care who it is on the Eagles that scored a touchdown. I only care about 6. I don't care how Trey Turner gets on base. I just care that he gets on base. And the thing that baffles me is, how does this man not attempt to steal a bag every single time he's on base? Every rule has been made more beneficial for the base runner. You only get a maximum of 3 pickoff attempts, and really you only get 2 because they're terrified to use the 3rd one. And the bases are bigger. Trey Turner should already have 30 stolen bases.
I mean, you know what? And you're 100% right. I can't say his first name, but Ruiz for the Oakland Athletics has already got 15 stolen bases this season, and he's not as fast as Trey Turner. I can try and pronounce his name. Give me just a second. I think it's Atreus.
Well, they're atrocious in Oakland, so it could be that.
Well, yeah. Well, they're atrocious, and this kid's already got 15 stolen bases.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to butcher this poor kid's name, and I'm sorry. Estruri Ruiz.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. 15 stolen bases throughout the season, and he doesn't play every day.
Yeah. No, Trey Turner, like, he is far too aggressive. He has, I believe, like a 3% walk rate, which is ridiculous, and a 30% strikeout rate, which is also ridiculous. This guy, and the hardest thing for me to wrap my head around is he can't hit the fastball. Like, they're throwing middle
right now.
Yeah, right now. Exactly. But their game plan for him, I mean, they have the scouting report on throw him a fastball anywhere in the upper part of the plate, not even out of the zone, anywhere in the upper part of the plate, inside, outside, down the middle, he's gonna be late on it. And I watched his one at bat against who were they facing game 1 against the Dodgers? It wasn't Urias, was game 2. Whoever they faced game 1, I watched them throw 3 straight fastballs right down the dick, just a little bit high, and he whiffed on all 3. I mean, they could have told him hey, I'm throwing it right here, and I think he would have whiffed. And I'd love to see him come out of that slump. You see glimpses. I mean, he blasted that one home run to straightaway center in a game where I said he's gonna have a comeback game. He ended up only having, I believe he only had the only hit for the Phillies that game. They got one hit in game 2, I believe. And he provided, maybe they had a hit or two in the 8th or 9th. I know I went to bed through 7. They were one hit, with that one hit being a Trey Turner bomb to straightaway center.
I think they finished with 2 total hits.
Oh, excellent. They doubled it.
Let's talk about a player that has pleasantly surprised me. Besides Bryson Stott, he's the obvious story, right? Now he's hitting like 323. Started the season with 17 straight games with a hit. Let's talk about Nick Castellanos.
Hey, no surprise here, man. No surprise here.
And you know what's funny is you and my younger brother Tim, who had spent a season on with BSing Sports with Ryan and I. He also said that he thinks that Nick Castellanos can have a good year. Listen, he's hitting 309 right now. He's got 4 home runs, which is already on pace to destroy his home runs from last season.
Yeah, and if you do from the first home run to the 4th home run, it's in like 2 weeks.
He had 2 in the one game, I think, against the Reds.
Like 10 days. I don't even think it is 2 weeks.
Yeah,
it's like 4 home runs in 10 games.
But even outside of the home runs, he was peppering the gaps. He was making sure he's making contact. He stopped, for the most part, swinging at the first pitch, which everybody was throwing him sliders for the first pitch.
Yeah.
And now he's making contact, and he's making good contact. I am pleasantly surprised with Nick Castellanos. Do you have a different player you're pleasantly surprised with?
Well, if anybody talks Nick Castellanos, I got to have about 3 minutes to just rave about this guy, as I am a big Nick Castellanos guy. I know he's
It's your show, brother. Go.
And the big thing with Castellanos is his on-base percentage could be a fair amount higher, because he showed such wonderful discipline, especially early in the year. And we just had CB Buckner. We had a number of these umps that were just atrocious, ringing him up on pitches 3-4 inches out of the zone on full counts. I can think of 3 separate at-bats where he had 3 balls on him, looked at ball 4 and got rung up. So this is a guy that, like, especially it took him, he had a good, I think, first series, and then it took him about a week before he really started becoming the hitter that he is at this point in the season. And people kept being like, oh, the guy has 10 strikeouts, like he's still striking out a ton. I'm like, look, you're not watching the same player I am. This is a guy that I have seen spit on that low and outside off-speed pitch, that low and outside slider, curveball, whatever, where last season you threw it anywhere remotely in that area, he's taken a big hack at it. And this is a guy that righty, lefty, doesn't matter, seems to be pulling it beautifully right down the line. For a good stretch of the early part of the season, he was leading the league in doubles. It seemed like he was just a doubles machine for a while. Now he's found a little bit of pop back in his bat, and he's been peppering it over the fence. You love to see that swag that you saw in Cincinnati. He got that Ryan Howard bat drop going on the one at Citizens Bank the other week, where he just kind of stares at it for a little bit and then has a nice swaggy jog around, where last season the body language was atrocious. I mean, up until the postseason, the guy just seemed to be slumping around. I firmly believe that he was injured for most of the season. And then the 2 parts of the season where he wasn't injured, the beginning and then a stretch in the middle there, he was a 315 batter. And that was way more reflective of the player that we paid for than the player that we had in the other 4 or 5 months of the season. That was like a 200 batter. I think he was hurt most of the season. And now that he's been healthy, you're seeing the true player that we paid for and that we have. Nick Castellanos is going to continue to be incredible. And I believe my early preseason predictions may be a little bit short in a couple categories. I posted, you can see it on our Instagram, on our Twitter. I predicted him to finish the season with 302, 28 home runs, 92 RBIs. The way he's been heating up, I think the average might be a little bit higher than that if he can continue hitting at this pace. Don't know if he's getting above 28 home runs. Still think that's about where he could be. But if we see Trey Turner start lighten it up a little bit more and being the player that we expect him to be, when he gets these doubles, expect to see a fair amount more RBIs than we've been seeing early in the season, because he could already have 20 RBIs and he's sitting in the mid-teens. Obviously, a player that I'm pleasantly surprised with, who, again, I was very hot on, big Marsh guy, but I can be the first to tell you, I never expected Brandon Marsh to lead the league in OPS. I believe he's top 5 now. I don't believe he's still leading the league, but he is a player that I had a lot of faith in. You saw some glimpses last year of him heating up, and now he is just batting at a remarkable clip, and he's a well above average defender.
Here's what I like most about the whole Marsh development here is to start the season, he was obviously platooning there in center field because they thought he couldn't hit left-handed pitchers.
Yeah. And
now he doesn't platoon anymore. And I have always said since the day we got him to the Angels,
when Pache comes back, that Rob Thompson is going to platoon him again, which would be the dumbest thing that he could do.
While Harper was out, I said that Christian Pache should have had significant playing time. And then look, he played for an entire week. And by the end of the week, he was hitting the ball really well. He was quick. He's making really good fielding plays. Unfortunately,
does he make really good fielding plays? He was hitting the ball well. I had heard Pache was a Gold Glove caliber defender, and I watched him make a number of I'd consider bad fielding plays.
He doesn't have a strong arm, and as a result, he tries to overcompensate. And I will admit that. But in terms of just his glove, no, I think he was fielding left field extremely efficiently. In my opinion, he's very fast. So him and Marsh covered that whole outfield on that side of the field very well. Going back to Nick Castellanos, he's also shown a lot of promise in the field.
For sure.
He's
robbery against Houston was incredible.
Correct. Yeah. I'm looking back more at the sliding catch that he made against, St. Louis there to end the wild card round. But yes, that catch the other day was really good too.
And against the Braves, the same exact catch, and then against the Astros in Game 1, the same exact catch.
That's true. Yeah,
he loves coming in and to his left.
It shows
one of the big things with Castellanos. He actually, it's been proven, he loves when a ball is hit in and to his left. That's when he can really feel comfortable fielding the ball.
It shows confidence, and I think that's the most important thing. And we say it all, like you and I have said it, Ryan has said it, even Tim has said it. Your co-host Sean and Joey have both said it. It all comes, Coach Joey, sorry. It all comes down to confidence. And when a guy is feeling confident, they can do anything in the field and surprising things in the field, which that robbery the other day in Houston was surprising for Nick Castellanos, even for him. And also it shows at the plate too, when they're not worried about what's going on in the field and they're able to leave it at the field. They tend to look better at the plate. And I think most of the Phillies lineup is doing that. Yes, Turner is struggling. Harper just came back. Schwarber's hitting $189. But that's what Schwarber did last year when he hit 40 home runs. So whatever. He shouldn't be batting first. And look, I know that.
No, in no world should he be the leadoff batter.
Especially with the lineup that we're dealing with right now, where Stott's hitting, Marsh is hitting, Bohm is hitting. Harper's in the lineup, Turner's in the lineup, Castellanos in the lineup, Realmuto's in the lineup.
I'd rather JT lead off than Schwarber.
I mean, you can make that argument. I was extremely content with Bryson Stott.
Bryson Stott's the best leadoff hitter on the team.
And I think that Brandon Marsh should be hitting 9th. And here's why I think Brandon Marsh should be hitting 9th. Because he's got the OPS right now, he should be hitting 9th because he's getting on base. And then he, just like Trey Turner, should be running on every damn pitch.
Yes. The crazy thing is, Bryson Stott, I get it, he's a lefty. Bryson Stott is lefty, correct? I'm not.
He is, yes.
Bryson Stott being a lefty, that benefits him a little bit more. No, Marsh is also a lefty. What am I thinking?
He is, yes.
Well, then this will even more prove my point. Bryson Stott's time to first base is actually faster than Brandon Marsh. Bryson Stott in MLB The Show 23 has a higher speed rating than Brandon Marsh. Bryson Stott may actually be the second fastest player on the Phillies team.
Christian Pache, before he got hurt, would definitely be in that conversation.
Yeah, he'd be in there as well. Yeah, but of starting players. So I want to see Stott, Marsh, and Turner stealing every time. Every time there's an open base in front of them, I want them to steal. I heard something ridiculous, like stealing thirds over 80% success rate this season.
Listen, I'm pretty sure JT Realmuto has 6 stolen bases this season, and Trey Turner has 2. There's a problem in that equation. Yes, he's the best catcher in baseball, but he's a god darn catcher. It should be Trey Turner swipe at bags. The fact that our team doesn't already have 50 stolen bases on the season is an anomaly to me.
Yeah, the fact that we don't have a single double-digit stolen base on the season is insane. We have Brandon Marsh we have Brandon Marsh, stinking Trey Turner, Bryson Stott, and then for a time Christian Pache, and none of them have 5 stolen bases, I believe.
I think Vermuto has 5.
Yeah, I'm saying, of the 4 I just named, though, I don't think any of those 4 have 5 stolen bases.
In Pache's defense, he wasn't playing every day until the last week before he got hurt. And I think he had 1 in that time. Stott plays every day, does not have up to 5. Turner hasn't gotten on base enough to have 5. But yeah, so no, you're 100% right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's something ridiculous. You need to see more stolen bases. You're seeing a lot of catchers that really don't have a plus arm. I mean, obviously we have the best defensive catcher in baseball. And then of recent, he's even turned it on with his bat again after slumping for quite a bit of the first month of the season. So
he did that last year too.
Yeah, I mean, he's a streaky player. Everybody in baseball is a streaky player, and you were just not catching everybody at the right time at this moment. You're seeing a couple of guys cool off a little bit. Bryson Stott's not batting at the level he was earlier. Bohm's cooled off a little bit. Castellanos is still about the same, 1, maybe 2 hits a game, but you're just not seeing enough people at the same time batting at a high enough clip, especially with runners in scoring position, for them to be winning these series against the Dodgers. And hopefully
I truly believe the shakeup with Bryce Harper in the lineup is going to help.
It's for sure going to help, but Kyle Schwarber being 1 will not. I said the current situation with Trey Turner slumping and everything, the lineup that I gave, let me pull it up so I don't mess it up. I think I remembered exactly in my head, but let me go ahead and pull it up here just so I know that exactly what I put it at. Yes, I had the lineup with Harper returning should be Bryson Stott, JT Realmuto, Bryce Harper, Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, Brandon Marsh, Alec Bohm, Edmundo Sosa, and Trey Turner batting 9th. And I said, this is just a temporary with Turner at 9 while he is slumping, but I also love the idea of having a plus bat, especially with speed, rounding out the bottom of the lineup.
And that's the reason I said Marsh should also be batting 9th. So I'm not opposed to that lineup. I probably would switch. Well, no, I guess having the righty and then the lefty. That's actually, to be honest with you, that's a pretty sound lineup. I do kind of like that. I'm a huge fan of the righty lefty.
Yeah,
righty.
It makes it tough for opposing teams in save situations to just be like, all right, top of the order's coming up. They got all their lefties there. Let's throw the lefty out there. It makes it tough for them to really put a closer out there. But then you're also put in situations where you consistently put Kyle Schwarber up high in the lineup when he really shouldn't be there.
The other reason I like your lineup is it protects every single hitter.
Yeah.
Granted, Stott's not a home run guy, but he's an on-base guy, which gets an opportunity for them to be like, okay, we'll attack Stott. Hopefully he doesn't get on. Realmuto could hurt us, but if Stott does get on, we can try and get Realmuto out. But then Harper could hurt. I like the back and forth. Also, I like how it protects every single batter in the lineup. The way they're doing it now is they're not protecting everybody, and I think it's foolish. And yes, that falls on Rob Thompson. As well as
right now, they're making it easy on opposition with Turner and Schwarber both slumping. They're like, we'll face Harper with nobody on every time you give us the opportunity to.
Correct. And right now they're feeling that way about Alec Bohm and Nick Castellanos too. Nobody's on. Okay, we'll go after these guys.
Yeah. We'll walk them. Sure.
Yeah. But listen, I appreciate you letting me on, Jake. Unfortunately, my time has run out. But for any of you listening and you haven't done it yet, I'm Bill at BSing Sports. Me and my co-host Ryan run BSing Sports on the BSing Network. And we encourage you guys to check us out. We have not been on for a while, and we apologize. We know that our work schedules are absolutely chaotic right now. But I thank Jake at Talking 215 for letting us on. Letting me on rather. Because it's been a little while since I've shown my face, and it feels nice to talk some sports.
Of course. Well, thank you.
Like I said, if you've had the chance, if you haven't had the chance, check us out at bsingsports.com, BSing Sports on YouTube, BSing Sports on Twitter, BSing Sports on everything. And it's just like it's underlined. Jake pulled it up for me there, BSing Sports. So Jake, thanks again, bud.
Always, man. Always got a home here on the show.
Appreciate that.
Go Phils. Go Sixers.
Go Sixers. That's right. I agree. Go Phils. Go Sixers. Have a good one.
See ya. Oh, yeah. So we always love having Bill on. Again, we're going to be wrapping up the show here, but if anybody does have any thoughts, feel free to go ahead and call on in to the White Glove text line or to the White Glove hotline there. If you have any thoughts, any frustrations you need to get off your chest, the Sussex Salty line, text line, is also to the same number there. Definitely want to check out White Glove Car Wash locations in Delaware, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. You are never too far from the glove. And then, do you like salt? Because boy, I do. It's mainly made for eating, but you can use it for whatever you want. Put it in your tub, put it on your chicken, do whatever you want with it. SussexSalt.com. Now you can purchase it in location at various vendors and locations down in Sussex, Delaware, but you can always purchase it online, SussexSalt.com. Yeah, Sixers, Phillies, Friday night. Going to be switching back and forth between the two. I expect a sellout crowd to probably both games. I think it's going to be a darn close. It's obviously going to be a sellout for the Sixers, and I believe Harper's return is going to be a darn close thing to a sellout, especially with the weekend with the Phillies coming off of their World Series run last season. We are talking 2-on-5. If you have not yet, you definitely need to follow us, turn on the notifications so you don't miss any of our live shows and miss any opportunity for ticket giveaways or a number of the other memorabilia, autograph, anything giveaways we've done. Jerseys, autograph jerseys, tickets, Sussex Salt, White Glove Car Washes, a number of different things. So you definitely want to follow, notification bell on all of the apps, and stay tuned because we have got so much more great stuff coming in the days and weeks to come. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for tuning in.